and welcome to episode 2 of Heathy's 100. We've had it, it's just been phenomenal so far, the 100. You don't need me to tell you because I'm sure you've all been watching. But this week, I wanted to celebrate some of our international stars who have made the trek to, rainy England to take part in the inaugural 100, and they have put in some mighty fine performances. So lined up for you, I've got Rachel Priest, we've got Jemimah Rodrigues, and we've also got international commentator and former New Zealand player Simon Doull. So without further ado, let's hear what they've all got to say. Up first, we've got Rachel Priest, fresh off the back of a staggering half century she went to with a 6 at Lord's against the London Spirit. Yeah, so when did you come over?
Probably only been here about 3 weeks.
Okay, when did you originally find out that you would be doing the 100?
Doyle had kind of spoken to me, putting it out there whether I'd be interested or not if people pulled out and things. So I said yes, but not really thinking much of it. And then right before I went back to Tassie for our pre-season to start, she rang me. I was actually driving back to Tassie from Queensland, and she said she needed a favour and she wanted me to come over with it. No, I feel really lucky that I've had the opportunity to do it.
Obviously, you had a phenomenal innings the other day. Talk us through that one and what it was like to, get some runs on the board for the Rockets.
I'm a notoriously slow starter in some of these competitions, which isn't always ideal, especially considering this one actually is quite short, only a limited amount of games, and you want to be scoring runs as an international. Obviously, to do it at Lord's as well was crazy. 6 months ago, I never would have thought I'd have the opportunity to play there again. So that was really special as well. But, my job here is to get runs at the top of the order. I guess you always have to think runs are coming, or else we'd certainly all give up cricket a lot sooner. But no, it was really nice. Look, it was just one of those days and it came off for me.
In terms of the franchise and playing as an overseas player, what's it been like? I mean, it's obviously very different this year to what it would normally be like coming over, but you've come over and played in tournaments in England before. How does it compare to other franchises you've played in?
I'm absolutely loving playing with the Rockets. They're just a really welcoming bunch of people, a really good group, and I'm playing with a lot of people that I've never played with before, which was always, really interesting to get to see how people play when you've only played against them. So that's been really interesting as well. But as we said, we've been pretty strict as what we can do and what we can't do. But look, if we want to be playing in the tournament, we need to do that. So, it's just what you've got to do these days.
You're a bit more of a seasoned player than a few of the others on the side. Do you bring your sort of international experience and your experience playing in all these different franchises? And is that something you like to try and pass on to the younger ones?
Yeah, look, I guess your experience can show through in a lot of different ways. So how you play, how you conduct yourself, and just how you are around the team and things like that. Certainly if people ask questions or want to have a discussion or a chat about things, I'm certainly open to that. But there's a lot of experienced players on this team as well, that have been around the domestic circuit and played KSL and things like that as well. So they are young, and there's some really young ones that certainly make me feel old. But I think there's conversations that go back and forth both ways, which I think is a good thing, because I don't think you've ever finished learning, and there's always stuff they can tell me about the Wickets here or playing over here or people we're playing against. So I think those conversations should definitely be going back and forth.
Do you ever feel more of a pressure as the seasoned player, or especially as an international player?
I think there's always pressure. Yeah, I mean, even if I was playing in a domestic competition at home, I think I'd still feel a little bit of pressure. I think there is, but I also think that I'm in a place now in my career where I can just sort of trust that hopefully those runs will come, and if they don't, then sometimes that's just cricket and you go through, runs of form or runs of being a little bit out of form. And I think it's just in those moments, I think it's just having discussions with your coaches and things like that, just to, if you might need a bit of reassurance or just a different plan, or just to get your plans right in your mind. So I think I said somewhere the other day that I was just a little bit frazzled, or not frazzled, but just a little bit scrambled in those first couple of games. And in that third game, I had really gotten clear with what I wanted to do. So Yeah, I mean, there is always pressure, but to be honest, I'm just really relishing the chance to be playing over here, and hopefully the runs will keep coming.
But in comparison to something like the Women's Big Bash or RIP the KSL, how does the 100 compare?
It's right up there with those competitions, I believe. Obviously, it's a little bit of an adjustment, particularly for an older girl like me to learn all these new rules and things.
Seasoned,
yeah. Yeah, one of my friends messaged me and said, oh, don't forget the rules. I said, I don't know them, so I can't forget them. But thankfully, now a few games in, I've picked them up now. And we've got some people in the team that keep me under control and let me know when I'm supposed to be changing ends and things like that. So no, I'm on board with all of that now. But yeah, look, the crowds have been absolutely amazing. We've been like so lucky to have almost 10,000 people at most of our games so far. So that in itself really brings a good atmosphere and makes it feel really special and really close to some of the games I've played in the Big Bash. We've had some big crowds, and obviously KSL finals days always have a really amazing crowd and atmosphere as well. So I think that helps to really make it feel similar to those tournaments. I think once everyone kind of knows what's going on with this new format, it'll certainly just go from strength to strength. But I think there's been some amazing games so far. There's been some such close games, and hopefully everyone's really enjoying it.
And what's it like to play alongside some of those people that were proper rivals of yours? Is it nice to sort of rub shoulders and be on wearing the same kit as them for once?
Yeah, absolutely. So I don't think it's any secret that me and Brunty certainly had a good rivalry back in the day. We're both very similar characters on the field and actually very similar off it, I've realised. Which is actually really cool to find out, because you learn about the person behind the person on the field. And I've always thought that that's a good thing to have, a different kind of persona on the field, because you're, we're obviously both really passionate about what we do, and, we love the game that we play, and we certainly were never shy to sort of express how we feel about it. And it is really nice to play with someone like that as well. I mean, I'd much rather have her on my team than be playing against her. And Nat as well. I mean, she just hits the ball so hard. It's unbelievable. So I'm definitely enjoying having her, hitting the ball for us, not against us.
Was it at all awkward when you first went into the changing room together? You're like, oh, okay, right, we'll put these differences aside now.
No, I don't think it was. I think we're both at an age and stage of our careers that I don't think it would be awkward. I think we both know that all that stuff was just on field, and when you're playing international cricket, it's high pressure, we've played a couple of World Cup finals against each other, and unfortunately none of them have gone my way. But yeah, look, it's just all on-field stuff. I don't think either of us are people that would worry too much about that, or I certainly didn't feel any awkwardness from her, so hopefully not.
I think that's just sport though, isn't it? You're both just competitive, and you're naturally going to be like that. You cross the boundary, and then when you go back off it, you have a beer together or whatever. And in terms of being an international star and coming all the way from Kiwi land, do you think this could entice more of them to come over?
Yeah, absolutely. I'm sure most of the international players, or most people, are keeping a close eye on what's going on in the 100, and talking to people, and seeing how well it's coming across on TV and things like that. I mean, people would be silly really to not want to be involved. I'm sure that next season for sure there'll be a lot of people really, really interested in coming over. And I mean, it's always nice for internationals to go and play in other countries as well. I mean, just for the experience, but also it's good to play in other countries, and when you might have a tour coming up, or just learning about how to play around the world in different conditions and things like that. So yeah, I'm sure it'll be people will be chucking their name in the hat next year for sure.
So if there was one player that you would like to see either join the Trent Rockets with you, if you stayed next year the same place, or just join the 100 as a whole, who do you think would be that blockbuster player you'd want?
I mean, it's pretty hard to go past Soph Devine. as we all know what she can do, and what she's capable of. And I think this tournament, or the format of it, is really set up well for her. So yeah, I think I'd have to say her, just because I know that yeah, she'd be hitting sixes all around these grounds. So I'd hope if I did come back, she was on my team. But
a new concept completely. Obviously, there have been certain things you've had to try and get used to. Did you know about absolutely everything that was happening? You know, you say, oh yeah, then I had to think to change ends at the end of the over, but it's not an over, it's a set of 5, and then sometimes it's a set of 10. Was that something at first you're a bit like, oh my god, what's going on?
Me, Sal, and Heather Graham were on the plane, and she emailed us the rules and things like that. And when we were quarantining, when we first got here for a couple of days, we did a little WhatsApp quiz, and me and H didn't do well in that.
I love that. So you learnt the rules of the 100 on a WhatsApp quiz while in quarantine.
Yeah, look, it was always going to be an adjustment, and we only had one warm-up game prior to getting into our first game. So I think it seems like everyone's on board with it now. It is still sometimes an adjustment in a game when you're kind of thinking about the game, and then it's like, oh, have we done 5? Have we done 10? You know, so but the umpires have been really, really good at letting us know where we're supposed to be and all that. So it's an adjustment for everyone.
Yeah. So prior to this interview, I was rewatching how you went to a half century with a 6. How did that feel?
You know what? I was in a zone that day, and like I said, it came off for me that day, which was pretty cool. But yeah, I mean, I don't think there's too many better ways to bring up year 50. I think it went over cow corner though, so maybe if I'd hit it somewhere else for a change. But look, I'll take it.
6. When you look at the scorebook, it doesn't say 6 over cow corner. It just says 6.
That's true. That is true. I will definitely take that. No, it was definitely a fun day.
Yeah. Do you ever feel like a bit of an international guinea pig?
No, I don't think so. I just feel lucky to be here, to be honest. So no, I don't think so.
And I think also you international girls, I think you've all put in quite a shift so far. We've got you, we've had Rodrigues, we've got Hayley Matthews smashing it everywhere. You know, you're all doing your bit. So I think it's kind of showing that the international prowess is right up there. And I think it is just going to advertise it to the world more, and more of you head over, you know. We'll be trying to kick you out, but like, stop, we've got too many, go away.
Yeah, absolutely. I think the good thing about these tournaments is that they have international players in them, but also equally it really helps build the domestic players that are here. And I think we've seen that over the years of the KSL, and even some of the performances so far in the 100. Like, there's really, really good domestic players in this country. Some of them are young enough to be my children, which is a little scary. But yeah, look, I think that it's only going to be positive for cricket in this country, and I think we've seen that in Australia as well. Their domestic players are just so good now. Yeah. So yeah, I think other countries can certainly start to look at what's going on and you know, try to figure out how they could maybe get that going in their countries.
So as I mentioned, we were also lucky enough to be joined by Simon Doull, who I think is a bit of a legend, if you ask me. And so he was great to chat to. It's not all about women. There are men supporting the women's game too, which I just love. And he's been fantastic on comms so far this year. And if you listen to what he has to say, he is loving it, and he is loving the women's game and what the 100 is doing for it. From all the way over in Kiwi land, you have blessed our screens to commentate on the inaugural 100. So how has it been so far?
It's been fantastic. I've really enjoyed it. I think it's been magnificent for the women's game. To me, what it's done is, first and foremost, it's let people see how good the women's product is, for a start. I've enjoyed the cricket. We've had high-scoring games. We've had low-scoring games. We've seen stars emerge. We've seen some sort of stars who we've always known about play well. So yeah, it's been really good and enjoyable to work on.
Talking of emerging stars, looking at some of the internationals, who would you say is the one that has shone the brightest so far, that's made the journey over here?
Well, I think you'd have to look at Jemimah Rodrigues when you just say that she's been sensational for the Superchargers. Just that form at the top of the order, She's been superb there. Hayley Matthews has had some good outings. I'm probably going to name more than one, aren't I? If I have to name one,
I think
I'll
it's best if you can name more than one.
I'll stick with Jemimah though, and look, I've been so impressed with her her ability. Not only, I mean, she would be 50 kilos ringing wet. You know, she's such a tiny little thing, but her timing, her placement, and just the joy that she got back in the game, I think was one of the things. She felt really comfortable in Yorkshire as a county. I think she felt comfortable going back into a dressing room with the Superchargers, with a few players she'd already played cricket with in the Super League and the Kia Super League a couple of years ago. So, and it just seemed to reignite a little bit of what we'd seen from her probably a year and a half, 2 years ago, which we haven't seen of late. So yeah, so she's a superstar. But I mean, notable mentions to Hayley Matthews, to Dane van Niekerk. You know, it's just a rafter that have been really good across the tournament.
We can't ignore Shefali Verma coming through with that innings. Like, she hadn't quite. It's difficult when you're that young. You know, there's so much pressure put on you, and we assume she's going to perform every innings, and no one can.
Yeah. And you're an overseas player, so all of a sudden you're not just part of a good team that is your national team, where you've got a Smriti Mandana and Harmanpreet Kaur around you, and you've got other sort of superstars around you. You're being paid as an overseas pro at the age of 17. I mean, who needs that pressure? Who wants that pressure? She's taken it on. She'll be much better for it. And just to watch her in that game in Birmingham was really special. Just, she needed to do something. I'm sure she felt she needed to do something. And you know, and then to see her slow down at the back end as well for the 50, it's like, you know, for Jones at the back end of the innings there, I thought that was a really nice touch as well.
I think that's one of the nicest things I've seen in cricket in a long time. She's so young, but she's mature enough to think, okay, I'm going to let the girl at the other end, who's my teammate, my friend, reach her milestone as well, instead of me trying to smack it to hit my 100.
Yeah, and I think Eve Jones probably appreciated that as well. You know, she's sort of, it was a packed house. It was an amazing atmosphere in Birmingham, and just to sort of give her that moment as well. And it was possibly going to be the Phoenix's last game. So just for her and for both of them to share a pretty cool milestone and a nice moment was really nice. And I mean, you found it in the women's side of things and the men's side of things, sides just having to look elsewhere for some of their overseas talent. But it was nice that they could fill some of those spots. And I hope by next year we do see, you know, some more of those international stars coming into the tournament. But, you know, women's and men's stuff in this year, some of those guys and girls have taken their opportunities, and they will be invited back purely because of that. And they might not have been thought of at the start of the tournament. So, you know, if you take your opportunities, you're going to reap the rewards.
So looking ahead to next year, obviously we've had some people fill certain gaps this year, and we think they'll be retained next year. Do you think this will become more of a hotbed for where people want to go? Like in the men's side, you've got men wanting to go to the IPL, not just for the pay, but that's where the T20 stuff is. So do you think people are going to be looking at the 100, women especially, being like, that's the top level I want to be at?
I think so. I think from the women's point of view in particular, it's probably jumped to the top of the tree. I know the Big Bash is popular. I think this could really rival the Big Bash. To me, I think this is every chance of being the premier women's event in world cricket outside of the ICC World Cup and the ICC T20 World Cup. Because it's a very, very good product. Is it men's cricket? No, but you don't want it to be men's cricket. It's women's cricket. It's a standalone product, and it's a damn good thing to watch.
Originally, obviously, pre-pandemic life, if any of us can remember that far, it wasn't meant to be double headers, was it? The women were going to play at the smaller grounds that tend to be the grounds that the women play at normally. But do you think the double headers have had an impact for this, and would you like it to stay that way next year?
Oh, look, I can understand the view around having some standalone games, but I think this has been great for all cricket. And you know, talking to some of the women in and around the franchises, what they have found really good is the interaction with the men, and the men actually, you know, really enjoying the women's success, watching the games, encouraging, coaching along the way as well. And I think that is what has been so good about it. And I'd like to see that stay for the most part. If there are some standalone games, but I still want those standalone games at the big venues. I'd love to see the Invincibles play a standalone game against the London Spirit on a Friday night at the Oval. you know, a 7 o'clock. Swap some around. Get the men playing first. Get the women playing under lights. Give them those opportunities along the way. And again, you just continue to promote what is a very, very good product. But I think what has happened with the double headers, I think those people in the ECB and the people in and around the 100 will be sitting back going, we might have stumbled upon something here. I've loved it. I think the players have loved it. I would love to see some reversals, though. I'd love to see the women playing under lights on the odd occasion, and you know, at least give every team 2 games under lights at night, and then see how that works.
Who would you like to see join the women's franchise from New Zealand?
Well, I think the obvious ones you look at would be Susie Bates, Sophie Devine, Amelia Kerr. Would be very good. I think that that'll perform very, very well. You look at Amy Satterthwaite, you know, I'm sure she'd get a gig. Leah Tahuhu, you know, with her pace. But what I have also seen is, you know, we've seen some good quick bowlers emerge. You know, I think there's enough potential around in the quick bowling ranks, and if they continue to play on better pitches, I think then the faster bowlers will have and learn how to have more success, because at times in the T20s, in the women's side of things, the spinners have been too successful, and it hasn't encouraged, you know, fast bowling, medium fast bowling. So I'm pleased to have seen some of those quick bowlers emerge as well.
Yeah, and in terms of the impact this would have on the women's game internationally, do you think this? I mean, obviously that can only improve the standard, but in regards to like the T20 World Cups, the 50 over World Cup, which is next year now.
Look, I think anything that can improve not only the standard, but the popularity of the women's game is good for me. And this is going to do that. Hands down, it's going to do that. And once there's that ability to have, you know, the Australian stars, the New Zealand stars thrown in with the West Indians and the Indians and the South Africans, I think then we are going to see this tournament really lift the standard. And I think it will improve English women's cricket immensely. These women that are playing in the 100, that, you know, the ones that probably haven't played in front of decent crowds before, maybe 1,000 people, you know, on some of the outgrounds, which has been a bit of a shame. You haven't been able to watch the product. I think they will only benefit from it. They'll realise how, you know, how hard it is, how much pressure's on. We've got, you know, 1 million people watching on television. You've got, you know, 20,000 in at the ground, and the ball goes, this sky goes up, and you're just like, oh gosh, what if I drop this? You know, there's all those things that go through your head, whether you're a male or a female. And so playing in that sort of environment under that sort of pressure, I think they will, you know, they'll certainly benefit from it.
But also what's been so nice is there obviously is this high level of cricket, but they do seem to just be having such a good time. Like there was, you probably saw the Birmingham Phoenix girls decided to start dancing while the boys were playing, and everyone was loving it. And it's that kind of thing that shows just what a good atmosphere there is around the whole thing. And that's the kind of thing I think will advertise it to more international stars as well.
All I can say is that if they look like they're having fun, which they do, and it's not forced by any stretch of the imagination, you know, it can only be good. It can only be beneficial. And that's why I say I just think that if they do combine or keep the combination of the men's and women's games and really make those franchises not just 15 strong, you know, they become 30 strong, and then all of the support staff from the women, the men, the whole franchise sort of gets together. So they become sort of a family of 45, 50, not just 2 separate teams playing in a women's competition and a men's competition. And I think that will be hugely beneficial.
Yes. And so what has been your highlight so far, your favourite moment, and just your favourite thing about 100?
I mean, it's hard to go past Dane winning the game, the first game, and putting a performance on the board. That one was brilliant. You know, the return of Sarah Taylor, you know, you could throw that in there as well, just to see the enjoyment and the joy in her face, just to be playing the game of cricket again. Yeah, and then I watched the piece on Nicole Harvey on Sky, you know, and what she'd been through and the adversity, and then having her son born and him being at the cricket ground, and just that whole family thing around that. And that should encourage and be encouraged as well. So there's so many good things have come out of, you know, the 100. At the end of the day, it's cricket. It's still cricket, and it's been successful. And I think it will be very, very successful for many years to come. So, yeah, bring it on. I'll be back next summer and can't wait.
It's fantastic. I'm absolutely loving it, and you're obviously loving being involved in it. What's the best bit about being on the comms?
It's been really good to be in and around and involved with it, and I think the product sells itself. You don't need to oversell the product, and I'll talk it up because it's good. I won't talk it up because I get paid to talk it up. If something's not good, I'll be pretty honest about it. And I just think it's been good. The players that have been here have loved it. The crowds have got behind it. It has just been a terrific product to work on. And I'll, as I say, I'll be back, and I can't wait. I think it's here to stay, and long may it stay.
And my final guest on episode 2 is someone who has really she's gone viral, and not just for cricket. She's a bit of a dab hand with the guitar as well. You all know who I'm talking about. It's Jemimah Rodrigues of the Northern Superchargers. And I think she's possibly the happiest cricketer I've ever spoken to. And she's definitely a Northerner at heart. You can take the girl out of India, but put her in Yorkshire, she really won't leave. But obviously you've come over as an international player. You say you don't really feel that pressure. When you go out to play, is it just sort of, I'm in my happy place? You play with such a smile on your face. And do you sort of feel like you're representing not just India in this English competition, but like you are one of the international stars, you're representing the rest of the world?
Me, I just like to keep it simple. So, like, as you said, how do you handle pressure and, the expectations? I think you don't give them too much time in your thoughts. I think if you keep thinking about them, naturally, I'll feel that pressure. I'll feel those expectations. And don't get me wrong, but there are expectations, but it's just that you need to find that balance of how much works for you and what doesn't. So I think for me, it's just simple. I just want to, not get too caught up with what people are talking about me. Because, see, just before this, as I said, I had gone through a very bad phase, and people were criticizing me. So many people were, not there when I needed it the most. And right now I'm in the space where, everyone's talking about me. So I cannot base my happiness on what people say. I say this with all due respect, and many people have supported me too throughout this time. So I'm really grateful for that. But it's just that what people say keep fluctuating. And if you base your happiness on that, I don't think you'll be able to be stable in life. It's a very easy thing to say because, it's an easy thing to say. But I think as you go on in life, you learn a lot. You make mistakes, you fall, but then you learn a lot. So I think it's just a journey, and we all are, learning a lot in this journey.
What's amazing is when you're playing, you seem to just play with such freedom and like you're really enjoying it. Is it one of those things you go out and it is your job, but you do just love it at the same time?
There have been times where I've taken cricket as a pressure more than something I love to do, because you're playing at this international stage. As you said, there's a lot of pressure, people talking, criticizing. And sometimes you miss the whole point of why you started playing this sport as a young kid, because you love the sport. I think the more you love it, the more you enjoy doing what you do, you're bound to do well.
Does this mean we can put your name down for next year?
For the Superchargers?
Oh, yeah.
I think if you're paying me well, I don't mind. I'm just kidding. Yeah, I think I'll get back to the same team.
Yeah, and so obviously this has been an amazing tournament for the women's game. How has that been received in India?
I think honestly, I'll tell you, I'll be very frank with you. I didn't expect the 100 to kick off so well here in the UK. Knowing the crowd too, because y'all are very reserved compared to the crowd in India. But just to see the number of people, as I said before, we are having this conversation in the comm box yesterday, and just to see the number of people not just showing up for the men's game, but showing up for the women's game is like one of the best things for women's cricket, to see the kind of support. And also hats off to every single girl playing the sport, playing the 100 to this tournament, because the games have been so good. So many games, like right from the first game, it went down to the last few balls. And, just to get that kind of games, and that's interesting people more. So I have been loving it out here. The crowd's been amazing. And I think that's one of the best parts of being a part of the 100.
And obviously it's inspiring a new generation to come through. What advice would you give to young girls who want to get involved in the sport?
Just enjoy doing what you do, because the more you enjoy it, the better you're going to do. Like ups and downs will come. It's a part of life. It's a part of sport, but it's just going to teach you. And more than the success part, I think the failures teach you a lot more. It changes you as a human being and as a person. So I think keep enjoying, and whatever you do it with a smile on your face.
And talking of a smile on your face, you definitely have a smile when you're playing the guitar. If you were to reach the final or even win the 100, could we see you on that stage with your guitar as a celebration?
Yeah, I think you can ask that the 100 guys. I don't mind. I don't
'Cause
mind.
we saw
playing.
the Birmingham Phoenix girls dancing on the stage the other day, so maybe you're next.
I just need a good singer.
Okay, well, I won't be offering myself up then. So how has it been received in India? Because obviously you don't have the women's IPL yet, but this is the kind of tournament that is one of the biggest things for the women's game across the world. We've got the women's Big Bash as well. How has it been received over there? And do you think it's going to have a positive impact for the women's game in India?
I think it's been received very well in India. Everybody's been following all the games, and like I've been getting so many messages from people. In India you have to actually download a particular app and then pay some amount of money, and people are actually doing that because that's how much they love the game, and they have been following it so much. So I think it's going to have a great impact. Everyone's following it, everyone's watching it, and I'm sure many people firstly want to play for India, and then after that play these leagues in the foreign countries. So I think it's going to be really nice. And yes, hopefully very, very soon we'll have the women's T20 challenge or the women's IPL. So yeah.
You'll be back next year. You can be playing in the World Cup. You'll be playing in the Commonwealth Games. So basically, we're not going to be able to get rid of you.
No, I'm going to be there for a long time. So yeah, I hope that continues. And it's nice actually after being at home for a year without cricket because of COVID. It's nice to finally be back in that groove of playing matches. So yeah.
Last question. Yeah. What has been your favorite thing so far? It's obviously not the English weather. We know that. What's been your favorite part of the 100 or being in England, or is it just the team vibe?
It's been a collection of things. I mean, yes, the team. I mean, I just feel very comfortable with this team, and I think the more comfortable you are here, you can express yourself better. Sometimes I do love the weather here too. I'm going to go to India and I'm going to miss this weather.
Well, you have obviously absolutely lit up this tournament, so thank you so much for coming over here and playing. I'm sure everyone else agrees with me because it's just been
thank you, Georgie,
to watch you, and just keep doing your thing. We love it.
Yeah.
So thank you from me and Pub, obviously, for tuning in for episode 2 of Heathy's 100. Tune in again for episode 3 as we look ahead to the eliminator and the finals. And I can't believe how quickly it's come around. So have a great week. Enjoy the last of the sunshine. And let's just keep enjoying the 100.